Is it just me, or do these weeks just seem to fly by? What's going on, guys? Great Disciple back with another Gray's Mail. And I'm telling you, man, as you get older, the saying that the days just go faster, it is the truth. It's almost like you live your life in increments of weeks and not days. I'm serious. I mean, you know, when we start off the week, we have a set pattern that we run with the kids at school, and then I have my work, and then we have sports, and we have Bible studies, and we have church on Sunday, and it seems like we live our lives in week-long increments. I hope you guys are having an awesome day, and very quickly, I just want you guys to know, I am actually away from my office this morning, so if you guys ask me questions and stuff, I may not reply back immediately, so just keep that in mind. But I will be checking them all, and I will be replying back to every single one of you. Again, Gray's Mail only works with questions, you guys, so ask away. Now, there is one particular question. Now, this was all the way back on Gray's Mail episode 3, and the gentleman reminded me on the last episode he really wants an answer to this. It was, what was the hardest thing while you were in a long-distance relationship with your wife before being married? And the second part was, how did you make your visits work, and how often did you do this? And this comes from Leachy Main. And Leach, I'm happy you asked this question because this was very key to mine and my wife's relationship. A lot of you guys don't know this, but I met my wife at my brother's wedding. We lived in DFW Metroplex in Irving, and my brother was south of Austin. That's about, over 200 miles away. It's about a 4.5 hour drive towards San Marcos. And that's where I met my wife. My future wife was at his wedding. She was the maid of honor. I was the best man. Okay, it's a great story. And I knew right away that this was a special woman to me, and I wanted to see her again. Like any great relationship, it all hinges on your communication. If you have really good communication, you're able to learn about that person without physical touch, you will have this huge advantage in the future over everybody else. So after I met her, we exchanged phone numbers, or I actually got her phone number from my brother through his wife, okay? And then I called her, and for 2 weeks, we spoke nearly every single day on the phone. And when I say we spoke on the phone, I mean, it was like 2 or 3 hours at a time. And this was before unlimited talk time on cell phones, so our phone bill was outrageous, okay? I mean, it was nuts how much our phone bill was, but so we spoke a lot throughout the week, on average an hour to 2 hours a night, and we really got to know each other, which is so important, man. You ask some of the craziest questions. You learn about family members, you know, stories of when they grew up, maybe failed relationships in their past. You learn about aspirations for the future, career paths, you know, stances on faith, you know, the hot topics like abortion, homosexuality, divorce, when do you want to have kids. You learn about all that stuff. And then I was in college at the time, so my last class was on Thursday, and I would go to work, and at the time I was working for my father in Dallas. And I would usually leave his office Thursday afternoon around 2:30, 3 o'clock, and I would drive to Austin. My goal was to beat the traffic leaving out of Dallas and then catch the tail end of the traffic going into Austin. And then I would meet up with her. Sometimes I would stay with my brother or friends, and then we would hang out Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday morning around 3 o'clock in the morning, I would drive from Austin all the way to Denton, Texas, and I would make it to my first class by 8 o'clock in the morning. It's crazy. And I did that for 6 months. But our relationship was built on the time that we spent on the phone together. And that is the main thing for anybody who's currently in a courting situation, or a dating situation, as you guys call it now. Your relationship is built on communication, not on physical touch. Now, we all like physical touch. I mean, we're men, okay? It's important to all of us. But the key to a woman's heart is speaking and listening. That's all she wants to know, is that she's with a man who cares enough to shut his mouth, keep his hands to himself, and listen to her heart as she speaks. I hope that answers your question, Leach. It's a great one. Now let's go into a more serious question. Now this one was a private message to me. It was from Anonymous. all right? And it's an interesting one, and it's a long one. So I'm going to read some of it to you. This is a deeply personal question. I would prefer not to be acknowledged if you choose to answer it, if that is all right with you. I have fallen to some of the same sexual sin that you have mentioned in a few of your videos and am now married. Although I am a born-again Christian, I know that God has redeemed and forgiven me. My spouse also has struggled in this area too, and one thing I've experienced is jealousy. Although I feel like a hypocrite because this is an area I have fallen into, I still struggle with this jealousy, and it saddens me because I know that God has also paid the price for my spouse's sin too, yet I still wish that we both have been each other's first. We have not shared many details of our past and each other aside from the fact that we strayed from God's plan and did not remain pure. Although I think this is wise, I still struggle with images of my spouse with other people in my mind. And he goes on a little bit further. So here's what he's speaking about, and I'm guessing this is a man. Having sex before you're married. This is a very interesting topic, a topic that people have very strong views about. Now, in the Christian faith, we believe that you should stay pure until you're married, that it's the best route. And there are many reasons behind it, because there is actually a chemical that is exchanged in a relationship when you get physically involved that's excreted from your brain. And what this chemical does is it forms a bond that is only supposed to happen whenever somebody is married. I think the chemical is called oxytocin, if I'm not mistaken. And so what happens is when these young teenagers, they have sexual relations outside of marriage and they break up, they get that feeling inside of them that they don't want to live anymore, that they've lost something, because the statement, two shall become one, right? So when you finally get married and neither one of the people had remained pure, there is that immediate jealousy over past experiences, because this is my wife. That is my husband. They are supposed to be mine and mine alone, because that's how you feel when you're married. So when they have a spotted past or a checkered past, like most of us do, I did going into my marriage, it's hard to deal with. Jealousy starts off pretty strong in a marriage, and possessiveness. You think that for some reason your wife went out on you, or let me change the words on that your wife violated the marital covenant by not staying pure before you were married, even though you did the same thing. The only thing I can tell you is this, is you didn't own your wife before you got married, and you don't own her now. And that true love is loving someone enough to not control them, i.e. be in a codependent relationship. And this is very difficult for men in the beginning stages of their marriage. And I remember after I got married with my wife, and I'll get personal with you. My parents had just gotten a divorce, okay? It was about 3 years into our marriage, and I was struggling with this exact topic, believe it or not, because I knew that my wife had had relations previous to me, and I had as well, and I could not let it go. The visualization of that, even though it was years ago, I couldn't let it go. I just couldn't. And I went to go meet with my mom, believe it or not, my mom, not my dad. And I sat down with her and I told her what I was struggling with. And she said, listen, she's your wife now. You cannot judge somebody on something that they did before you knew them. She's forgiven just like you're forgiven. You have to let it go, and you have to move on, and you have to love her for who she is now. And understand also that her past led to her future with you. That if certain things were changed in the past, there's a chance that your paths would not have crossed. That's a great way to look at it. And also that you're a sinner just as much as she is. Possessiveness is what you're struggling with right now, not jealousy. It's possessiveness. You feel violated, and you feel that other men are going to take advantage of her now that she's your wife. But you have no grip on her, all right? She is her own woman. True love is letting that person go and trusting that she'll love you back and not abandon you. So that's my answer to you on that. And that's a little bit of a deep one, okay? Let's go to the next one. And we'll go ahead and stay on the topic, okay? This question comes from Mr. Tracky, and this is a good one. He says, has there been any type of temptation with the opposite sex since you've been married? Well, of course there has. There's a verse in the Bible that says, no temptation has seized you except what is common to man. But God is faithful. He will not allow you to be tempted beyond what you can bear. Okay, let me explain. Temptation, by the way, you guys, temptation is not sin. Temptation is another word for desire. To have a desire in you is not sin. Sin is the acting on that desire. Men are turned on by visual stimulation. Okay, we know this. I mean, we see something attractive, it arouses in us a spirit. Okay, seeing an attractive woman and acknowledging her attractiveness is not a sin. Lusting after her in your heart is a sin. Let me say that again. Let me do it a different way. If I see a beautiful woman walking down the street and I acknowledge her beauty, that's fine, and I turn away. But if I turn back to her and I stare her down like a piece of meat, that right there is increasing lust in my heart. That therefore is a sin. And if not put in check, I'll take it to the next step. I'll start viewing things that I shouldn't view. Maybe I'll create a relationship with a woman that I shouldn't create, which will eventually lead to a physical demise of my marriage. Okay, so temptation is not bad. It's the acting upon that temptation. And I am a man just like you are, Tracky. And there are some beautiful women out there. And it's so easy as you're going through the internet and YouTube to see something that you really shouldn't be looking at. So yes, temptation has seized me at times. Great question, by the way. All right, let's end this one with a little bit of a lighter topic, shall we? All right, I've spoken about 3 questions of relationships and sexual temptation or possessiveness. So let's go with something a little different. How about, this was a really cool one. This one comes from Crimson Sapper. I think Crimson Sapper. And he says, what are the Nineveh ruins? And he spelt it wrong, and he knew he had spelt it wrong. He said that he saw them when he was in the war in Iraq, which is really cool, man. So what is Nineveh? Well, some of you guys have actually heard this story, Jonah and the whale. So God came to Jonah. Jonah was a prophet and said, I want you to go to Nineveh and I want you to speak to the people and tell them that if they don't change their ways or turn their heart back towards me, I'm going to destroy them, which was in ancient Assyria. And Jonah, not wanting to listen to God because he knew who the people were, and he knew that if he went there, the people would probably repent and be forgiven, and he didn't like those people, he fled to Tarshish. He boarded a ship, and he tried to run away from God. And while he was on this ship, a storm rose in the sea, and the men were frightened beyond compare. And Jonah was downstairs in the hold of the ship sleeping, and they woke him up, and they're like, we're going to die. And we don't know what's going on, why God is judging us. What shall we do? And he says, well, I know why God's judging us. It's because of me. He said, throw me overboard and the storm will stop. And so the men talked amongst themselves and they threw him overboard and the storm stopped. And so Jonah's sitting there in the middle of the ocean and a big fish, a whale more than likely, came up and swallowed him whole. And he stayed in the belly of that fish for 3 days. And he prayed to God for forgiveness for walking away from him. So God commanded the fish to spit him up on the shores of Nineveh. And Jonah went into the city and spoke to the people, and the people repented, and God forgave the city and didn't destroy them. That, my friends, is the story of Jonah and Nineveh. I hope that answers your question on that one. It's a pretty awesome story, and it's pretty cool that you actually got to lay your feet on the ground of the Nineveh ruins. Pretty awesome, man. It is an actual place, Nineveh. And Assyria was an awful civilization, man. They worshipped idols. They sacrificed their babies to gods. And they were known for their brutality in war. But God forgave them, which was pretty cool. And he used a reluctant man to do it. All right, you guys, great questions, deep topics. I like them. I hope you did too. I'll throw one in real quick before we go. We got a little bit of time. Let me find this one. This was a good one. Where is it? Oh, here we go. Heir of Gotham asked me, what are my thoughts on tattoos? Now, I don't know if you're planning on getting a tattoo or if you have a tattoo, or maybe you heard something spoken about tattoos. Me personally, I find them repulsive. Every single person that I know has a tattoo. Okay, a lot of people in my family have tattoos. I think my sister has like 3 or 4. My wife has a tattoo, which she got when she was 18 or 21, one of the two. I don't like tattoos. The Bible actually speaks against them in the Old Testament, believe it or not. But that's not the reason. It's this. What in the world would you put on your body that you think you would like for the rest of your life? And then you see how these people get these tattoos, and 40 years later, their skin is all sagging. You can't even tell what it is. I don't know. And it's like you go to the beach with your kids and you take your shirt off and you got this huge diagram of a dragon around a cross on your back. And they're just like, what are you thinking? And then people put their name on their back. And I'm like, do you not know your name? I mean, is this in case like you get amnesia? People know your last name is Gonzalez? I never got it. I still to this day. Now, certain tattoos I think I'd be okay with. Like if I was in the military, I'd probably get a military tattoo for sure. If one of my kids died, I would probably tattoo their name on my heart or something like that, or my wife. I could see certain things like that, just as a constant reminder. And then people have this tendency to put Bible verses on their bodies, and I'm like, well, we have Bibles and apps for that. Why would you pin those on your body? I don't know, but that's my opinion. I don't like them, but to each their own. You know what I mean? All right, should I stop there? Let me see if there's another one. What is my biggest fear? That was a cool one from Thomas. All right, Thomas, what is my biggest fear? It's quite simple. The death of one of my children. That's my biggest fear. I feel like I can handle the majority of things. My relationship with my wife is really strong. We talk a lot. We spend a lot of time together. We both trust each other a ton. Something happening to one of my children physically, being harmed or to the point of death, somebody maliciously attacking them, or them dying in an accident or getting some fatal illness. That is my biggest fear, because I feel like I could handle a lot of other things, but them dying earlier before me, that would probably be the worst. All right, you guys, I'm going to stop there. Great questions. I hope you guys enjoyed it. This was a little bit longer of an episode. As always, if you liked it, hit the thumbs up button, man, because it helps my channel. Leave a comment down below, ask me questions, and as always, subscribe for more, because I'm here every single day. Bye.